At Direct Service Overhead, we know how much trust you put in the individuals who have the privilege of working on the components of your home. We understand that a broken garage door is the last thing you want to be worried about, and most of the time, doors break at the most inconvenient times. Our professionally trained technicians service 24 hours a day, and our high-cycle parts are guaranteed to make a noticeable impact on your garage door without putting a damper on your wallet. If you're looking for need of assistance maintaining your current garage door, our team has the experience and expertise to deliver the results you deserve. Give Direct Service Overhead a call today or visit us online to learn more.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. What's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans, SEC fans everywhere? Welcome to the Big Trail Network YouTube channel. Let me know if you guys can hear me clearly. We've got something special lined up for you guys today. We got a special guest, and I'm going to get him introduced here in just a second. Now this is a first. We're basically live streaming our Discord live chat. So for those of you who last time we tried something like this in the Discord, we did have some sound issues. So let me know if you guys make sure my volume's turned up here on my microphone. Let me make sure that you guys first make sure you can hear me. So we have some big news today. We're going to get into all that, but I first want to Well, first I want to give you guys a shout out. All of you who are in live chat, thank you so much. Patreon supporters could not be here without you guys. And, of course, sponsors as well. And a special shout out to Direct Service Overhead. The very first sponsor of this show, as a matter of fact, Direct Service Overhead, garage door company who operate out of Central Arkansas and, of course, up here in Northwest Arkansas. Travis Ford and the boys. They can hook you up. You got any issues, you let them know. Their contact information, everything you need to know is on their website, which is a link provided for you down below in the description box. And then, of course, Stated Apparel. Stated Apparel has a unique shirt just for you from State Pride. Funny, sarcastic, sassy, pop culture, you name it. Our shirts are hand printed on premium material that will leave you feeling and looking great. Our store, not plural. Our store offers something for everyone. So without further ado, now let me make sure all my settings are here. This is a first. We talk a lot in Marco Polo, but for the first time, we're going to have him here and QB Spotlight. I'm just going to call you QB Spotlight because that's how everyone knows you. How you doing, Steven?
Hi, what's up, dude? Can you hear me and all that fun stuff?
I can hear you. You're coming in loud and clear on my end.
Okay, good, man. Well, all is good here in the hill country of Texas. Ty, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to talk some football.
Dude, I'm really. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. We did our Discord chat, which, by the way, this is Steven Hamner from QB Spotlight. I know you guys know him from all of his KJ videos. Not just KJ, probably some of the best, if not the best, QB breakdown videos you'll find. It is premium content. I try to catch all of his, especially his content when he talks about KJ. They're usually shared in our Discord, if not by me or Tim, who's a mutual friend of ours. One of you guys are sharing his content in Discord. This is him, Steven Hamner. But you and I, we did this thing on Discord. I wanted to share the screen so everybody can see you here. Hang on just a second. Let's share this screen and get this popped up. Let's do this. It's going to be a little boom. Here we go. There he is.
Nice.
There he is. All right. So I told everyone in Discord if they have any questions, please ask away. I'm going to try and put this where I can. You guys are kind of getting a behind the scenes look here at what I can see. But if you have any questions, make sure you at me on YouTube at Pig Trail, because I won't see it in Discord. So make sure you ask away there. All right, we're going to start with Steven. I want to ask you the first thing, and that's the news about Treylon Burks leaving the Razorbacks. How big of an impact do you think that has on this game in the Outback Bowl versus Penn State?
Yeah, I think it definitely has an impact, right? Like go back to, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but go back to the Texas A&M game when KJ got hurt and you saw what the offense was like without KJ. And now you remove Burks, and now we're going to see what the offense is like without Burks. So I don't think it's going to be as drastically – I don't think the offense is going to be as – what's the right word? As limited as they were without KJ. But they're definitely going to have some creativity or ask some guys to step up. And so I know as an Arkansas fan, it's a bummer about Burks not playing in the game. It's super exciting for Burks. But as far as the offensive standpoint, I'm kind of excited to see KJ make people better, because as good as a player as Burks is, I think having a quarterback like KJ really helped Burks. And so now someone else can potentially stand up, and we can see hopefully KJ help elevate another receiver and maybe be a go-to guy for this game against Penn State.
Yeah, they're going to have some other options here, and I think that's the one thing some fans forget about. Warren Thompson, who was a former I think he was a top 100 four-star prospect when he committed to Florida State. You're going to have Keytron Jackson, who's a guy that Arkansas took away from Texas out of their own backyard, which is a huge get. We know Texas wanted Keytron Jackson quite a bit. I think he was a top 150 or 200, depending on what recruiting site you follow. And then, of course, you've got some other guys that can be in the mix. Tyson Morris, Warren, Devion Warren. I'm trying to think of all of them. Crawford, who's not really done anything for Arkansas this year, which is surprising given how strong of a spring camp that he had. And there's some other guys out there that are kind of floating around that I'm kind of missing on at the moment. But they've also got Trey Knox at tight end, who I know that's a different position, but he became a little bit more reliable as a good check down target for KJ. So let's just, since we're already talking about the Outback Bowl, tell us a little bit about what Penn State does on offense. You and I have already kind of talked about what's going on there, but just for everyone, for the Razorback fans, kind of get them familiarized a little bit with what Penn State does offensively.
Yeah, so their OC, I hope I'm not butchering his name, Mike Yursich, he was been at Oklahoma State, been at Texas, and so he's going to have not a RPO scheme like Arkansas has, right? It's not going to be that drastic, but it's going to be somewhat similar. So you're going to see some similar schemes. I just think without Sean Clifford at quarterback, so Sean Clifford, their quarterback, has gotten a lot of heat the past few years. I think this season it's kind of been the other way around. I think people are figuring out that it wasn't really Clifford's fault that the offense has struggled at times. I think Clifford is the one that's kept them in games this year. Clifford's the one that has had to carry and run the ball this year. And so I think they've lacked probably as the playmakers they probably want to have Yursich's offense run at a fast tempo to have explosive plays. And so I think their offense, and if you go back and watch their game against Illinois, that might be a fun game for Arkansas fans to go back and watch, because that was the game Illinois won in like 9 overtimes or something, and Penn State just cannot punch it in. So offensively, even though Burks is out of the game, I think the fact Penn State's offense isn't very explosive, they rely on Sean Clifford heavily to do everything for them. And doing that, because he has so much stuff on him, he's prone to make some turnovers here and there, because if he doesn't make a play, Penn State can't move the ball. But at the same time, he sometimes he forces things because he has to make a play. So I think as far as how it matches up in a game scenario, Penn State's offense probably isn't going to be very explosive. So the fact you're taking Burks away, I don't know if that's going to be as big of a deal as it would be, say, if you were playing an offense like Ole Miss again, who has had a very explosive offense, if that kind of makes sense. So long-winded answer, it's a similar style schematically as Arkansas, but they don't have probably the playmakers or the system instilled just yet to be as explosive as we've seen kind of Arkansas's offense be able to be.
I was kind of looking over their numbers, their defense, and I realize you focus primarily on quarterback play and offense, but their defense, and they gave up something like 300 yards to I think it was Illinois on the ground. Just on their ground game alone. I might need to take another look at that, but their run defense wasn't exactly lighting it up this year for Penn State. They kind of struggled a little bit. All right, next year we know Hazelwood is transferring from Oklahoma early this year. He's gonna be here. He's gonna be on campus. I'm still not 100% sure if he could participate for bowl practice. Now, to answer Cody Honey's question in chat. Can and will Hazelwood play in the Outback Bowl? No, he cannot play. He cannot participate in the Outback Bowl. I don't know if he can participate in practice because there are early signees who will be eligible to practice. Now, I don't know how much, to what extent, but yeah, they will have some players, technically will be true freshmen that will be available that can participate in bowl practices in Fayetteville. Now they cannot travel with the team, and the same thing I believe with Hazelwood is he can't even travel. Looking at next year for the Razorbacks, without obviously we already knew Treylon Burks was not going to return. I think we all were pretty much there were some NIL rumors floating around. Bass Pro Shops was gonna give him a brand new boat and a whole bunch of cash and all this ridiculous stuff. We knew Burks wasn't coming back. When you look at Arkansas next year, do you think they can accomplish what they did this year with Burks, or is Burks' absence, is that going to have a pretty big impact on them next year? Do you think with all these guys, with Hazelwood, these returning players like Warren Thompson, and then, of course, I know you don't know a ton just yet about the incoming freshmen, but they do have a couple guys committed that are highly rated 4-stars. How far of a step back do they take next year, or do you think they move forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the potential is there to move forward. It just might look a little differently. With big time situations on the line, you knew they were going to Burks. Whether it was the 3rd and 1 against Bama when they threw the back shoulder fade that Burks caught for a touchdown, whether it was against Ole Miss where they had those 2 back-to-back deep bombs to Burks. In big time situations, they were going to Burks. I think next year it might look a little bit differently, where you might spread the wealth a bit more with Thompson that you mentioned, Warren Thompson, with Hazelwood coming in, with some of the other guys that you mentioned. So I think the production can still be there offensively. It just might look differently, and the wealth, or at least the ball, right, might be spread around a bit more than it was this year. Because when you have a guy like Burks, there's no real need to spread the ball around if it's working, right? But now since he's out, I think to have that same success, the ball is going to have to be spread around a bit more. So you might have, two number 2 receivers essentially really kind of stepping up and really making a difference. So I think you definitely can take that next step. Having a quarterback like KJ, man, is huge. He's going to be a veteran quarterback now. So it's really going to be up to him to elevate everyone around him. And if he does, and I think he will, then I think the offense can take a step forward, or at least maintain where they're at, even without Burks. I'm really high on Hazelwood. I think he can be really good for y'all's offense. But to answer the question, the potential is there. It's just going to look a little bit different, and the wealth is going to be spread around a bit more.
I love that answer because you're right. And I think I kind of came to the same conclusion last night, kind of talking with some people. It's gonna be different, but possibly similar still, because production now is going to be multiple receivers as opposed to just one guy. I do think some of that this year was because there wasn't anyone that really stepped up I mean, to be that wide receiver 2 spot. I felt that way kind of all year, and I do think, and at first this wasn't as popular of an opinion, but I think more and more people have kind of come along to it. I think that Woods transfer did have a pretty big impact on this offense, at least in terms of being able to throw the ball. Someone's got a question for you in chat. This is from Ash. If Dotson opts out for them, talking about Penn State, will it affect their offense as much or even more for them as we feel it will with Burks opting out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Dotson's really their only big threat guy, but even with him, like if Arkansas could take him away, even if he plays, then it's essentially the same thing as him opting out, right? So, I think it definitely has the effect, similar effect as Burks. But I think Arkansas's got more weapons on offense than Penn State does. If you take Dotson out, then it's truly just the Sean Clifford show, or at least what we've seen so far. So, yeah, I do think it will have an effect offensively. There'll be no deep threat at all, at least that I'm aware of, if you take Dotson out.
Yeah, they do have a couple other guys with some pretty decent numbers. They definitely have a receiver 2 and 3 set up, but I'm with you. I don't think they're like elite playmakers. Dotson, I think, would be a pretty big setback for them. But no, I don't think it would compare to Treylon Burks to the offense. But at the same time, I'm with you. The amount of targets and playmakers Arkansas has on offense, there's going to be a lot of young guys asked to step up, I think, in this game, and Ketron Jackson being one of them. I really, really want to see Ketron Jackson. I'd love to see him produce. It's asking a lot for a true freshman, but we have seen him at times kind of, we've seen him ball out. John Hawes asks, he wants to know, is losing a dynamic playmaker like Burks going to first force KJ to go through progressions? It seemed like it was Burks as the only read a lot this year. I'm curious what you have to say about that.
I think potentially that's a really good question. I think even though it might seem like he was the only read, I think a lot of times as a quarterback, it's like you go up there to either a numbers game or a matchup game. So 9 times out of 10, or maybe even 10 times out of 10 with Burks, the matchup's always in your favor. And so if there's no up-top safety, if you know it's one-on-one with Burks, then there's no real reason for another read, if that kind of makes sense. So to answer the question, I think you probably have to progress a bit more. But at the same time, offensively, with the scheme Briles runs, usually it's like a 1-2 quick progression, right? So even though it might look like he's just reading one guy, it might just be because that read is there and there's no need to go to that second progression, if that makes sense. So I think you could see some more progressions, but I think it might look somewhat similar depending on the matchup and depending on the actual play that's called from Briles.
Yeah, I've seen people kind of make this argument that Burks doesn't know how to go through his reads, and I just couldn't disagree more. I really couldn't. I've watched. I'm definitely no Mr. Hamner here, but I've watched a fair amount of quarterback play, and it seems to me like he's just going to take that matchup with Burks almost every time. But when he's forced to go through his reads and he has the time, watch his helmet. I mean, it's changing direction. He's checking the field out. I just have not bought into that he doesn't go through his reads or that he makes bad reads on whatever down. I think it's just kind of a little bit of what Kendall Briles wants him to do. You talk about like those first down, why they ran, and I swear they had to have ran probably 90% of the time on first down this year. And I think that came from Kendall Briles, not KJ making a bad read off the RPO. I think it's just what was coming from the sidelines. But I think in terms of passing, right, if he were to go 4 or 5 wide set, shotgun, and they're just going to run a bunch of whatever route trees that you want to run. If you want to run crossing routes over the middle, slant, hitch and go, whatever, he's going to go through his reads. And you give him the time, he progressed so much. And that's what I want to ask you. How impressive was his transformation from week 1 all the way till the final game against Missouri?
Yeah, I think like everyone, when people that don't watch Arkansas football or just maybe watch KJ one game, you assume, okay, he's an RPO guy, he's good at the RPO. But I think he's good at the RPO, but he's good at everything else that entails being a good quarterback. We actually just put out a video just kind of breaking down why we thought KJ was the most underrated quarterback. And we didn't put one RPO play on it. It was just all dropbacks, straight dropbacks. And you can see him go through progressions and go through reads, actually kind of pinpoint it. And at the same time, it's hard for us as fans and people watching to really know what his reads and progressions are, what's being told to him to read. For example, a lot of times we have this like a read side where you might not look to the left, you just look to the right. That's your read side. And so it might look like you're not going through your progressions, but your progressions may just be on that side. So it's really hard for us to tell if he's going through his reads or if he is a one-read guy. But to answer the question, how much he's improved, I think he was always that good, if I'm being honest. And yes, he improved, but he just got more and more of the chances, right? He got more and more opportunities. They passed more and more. You saw more and more just straight drop backs from gun, but you saw more and more traditional passing plays, if you will, for lack of better terms, in the Ole Miss game, but right the second half of the Ole Miss game, Auburn game, Mississippi State, that last drive to win, right? You just saw a true quarterback playing. Yes, he can run the RPO. Yes, he can scramble. Yes, he's a big athlete, but he's a quarterback first. All those other things tend to follow, in my opinion. And I think you have to actually watch the games like Arkansas fans do and know, but people from the outside looking in probably have this false perception of what KJ is able to do.
I love that. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, and very few of you are unaware of who we're talking to here because we talk about QB Spotlight quite a bit here. This is the guy who was putting out videos preseason saying KJ could be special this year. If you go back and look, no one was putting that kind of content out. In fact, you had guys at 247 ranking KJ as the 14th overall quarterback in the SEC. Meanwhile, Stephen Hamner at QB Spotlight is saying, no. He could be pretty damn special. And he ended up, of all the talking heads, Stephen Hamner was correct at QB Spotlight. Even I said, look, KJ's the guy, but it wouldn't shock me if this staff had a short leash and he has one bad game and they pull it. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I didn't buy into the KJ ain't it crowd, which always stunned me, especially coming out of the spring camp. I kept hearing, and that was actually kind of trending in my chat, KJ ain't it. And I was like, what have you seen that tells you opposite? But at the same time, I also thought it wouldn't surprise me if he got pulled. So, Steven, you were right when everyone else was wrong. And so that's a testament.
That's kind. I was wrong, too, on some things. I said I thought Emory Jones would have a good season. I thought, I thought some other guys would do well that I struck out on. And people on YouTube let me know about it. But thank you, Ty.
Emory Jones is the biggest surprise in negative land that I have seen. I thought for sure, I'm right there with you, I thought for sure he was going to ball out in that offense. And my gosh, they've got some issues down in the swamp. But, of course, they made the change at the coaching position. Here's a couple other questions. In this, just real quick, Timothy Henderson says, does the Penn State defense scare you? I don't know if he's talking to me or you. I'll say the fact that they don't give up a lot of points is worrisome. They are really good at just not giving up points. Do they scare me? Before Burks, I would say no. After Burks, I would say it's concerning.
Yeah, I'd probably right there with you, Ty. Nothing to add there.
Let's see. Ash wants to know, do you think we need to start trusting KJ more at times? It feels like we don't put the ball in his hands enough, and we just keep running it even when the run game is not working.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. Like, if you look back at it, let's go back to the Mizzou game. Things kind of struggled. Maybe that was the second quarter, maybe the beginning of the third quarter, things opened up. KJ was able to beat KJ. I think he's got a decent point, right? It seems a lot of times things open up maybe middle, the second half of the game as opposed to right off the bat. So I think that might be a good point he's got there. Yeah.
And then again, Ash has got another good question. What are your thoughts on Malik Hornsby? Oh, this is what I want to know. Where are you at with Malik Hornsby?
And Todd, you know this would be repetitive from me because you've heard me talk about Hornsby. I like Hornsby. I'm partial towards anyone from Texas, and he's kind of was in my neck of the woods in that Houston area before we moved. And so I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I think what we've seen so far, I think he's probably been thinking too much. He hasn't looked as fast as he really is. He hasn't been playing loose. And so there's a lot of reasons why. And so we don't really know the reasons why. I think the potential is there. I just think he's got to be continued to be groomed. And again, we've only seen clips. We've only seen the second half against A&M, and then the FCS game y'all played against. And while we didn't see anything that we were excited about, there's still a bunch of potential there, and so it's too soon to write him off just yet. He probably needs a few more live bullets to kind of settle in. But I like Hornsby; he's got potential there. Just where is he going to fit in, right?
I like that. Yeah, I think people are kind of they're kind of just they're basing everything off of what little we saw of him as a redshirt freshman. People forget, I mean, he's still just 19 years old. He's a redshirt freshman. Give him a little bit of time. My dad, I don't know if he's in chat, RQ56 says move him to wide receiver. Move him to wide receiver. If he's got all that speed, let's find a way to get him onto the field. I get that, but I'm with you. I think they need to be a little bit more patient. Yo, what's up, Robert Ainsworth and Mr. Eagle? We got time for a couple more questions here. Let's see. There was one. Where'd it go? Oh, by the way, shout out to Mr. T-Dub. He says two of my favorite dudes. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. There was another question somewhere in here, and I forgot where it went. Okay, well, since I'm not seeing it, Ash says his dad says the same thing. The NCAA, now, I have my take on this, but I want to hear yours first. The NCAA has made it illegal now for the quarterback to do that, the thing that the Pitt quarterback did, where he drops down and fakes the slide, and then he jukes out of it and he runs downfield. Really want to know what you think on this.
Yeah, no, and good question, and y'all know I'm quarterback to the core, but hell yeah, there needs to be a rule for that, right? Like the defenders are slowing up, and so I think there even needs to be a rule where if a quarterback fakes the slide, then that should be a similar penalty to when he gets hit late from sliding too late from a defender. So I think it's a good rule. It's probably needed, and now it's funny. I was reading on Twitter today. People are talking about why does it take one, I guess, play for that rule to get changed. But all these fake injury, there's no rules coming out about fake injuries or the targeting people getting ejected. So I thought it was kind of an interesting take. But yeah, I think it's a good rule to have for sure. I
am in the same boat. And someone in our Discord said, so then while we're at it, let's just do away with the pump fake by the quarterback. And I'm not going to say who said that, but I thought, no, that's ridiculous because the defense is trained and it's penalized. If a quarterback shows that he's going to fall to the ground, then you cannot make contact with him. It's a penalty. So a pump fake is just a pump fake, right? A defender can still do whatever, get his hands up, he can make contact with the quarterback, whatever. Fake sliding, say what you want. Yeah. It completely puts the defense at a huge disadvantage where they cannot make contact with the quarterback. And the quarterback's taking advantage of that. I don't think that – no, I'm all for it. I'm all for that rule, and I think it's a good one. And it's crazy, too, and you're right, how quickly that has got to be – someone said that in chat. That's going to be the fastest turnaround on a decision by the NCAA in history. Meanwhile, you got Lane Kiffin's guys dropping like flies on defense, and they're fine. They come back in a play or two later. Someone's going to get hurt if they don't address that. It's a player safety issue, and that's why it was addressed so quickly. Says Polybust. Ash has another question with how much progression KJ makes from week to week. How much – let's see. Hang on. I had a super chat. With how much progression KJ makes week from week, how much progression and how much better can KJ get heading into next year? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think a lot better, right? Especially if – again, I don't know the intricacies of the coaching staff, who's staying, who's going, but especially if stuff's fairly similar, I think he can continue to progress. It's all, and you might not see as big as a jump as you may expect, just because he had such a good season this year. The better you get, the smaller the increments are. So I think he could still have a good progression this offseason, and the increments may not be huge, maybe statistically, but it could still be a big jump. And so I'm hearing people are reaching out to me about, hey, could KJ leave this year for the NFL? But I think next year he could really work himself up to be a guy talked about more and more often in some draft circles. Guys reaching out to me, some guys that we know kind of in that the scouting and kind of agent world are actually reaching out, talking about KJ a little bit. So I think you're going to hear some more and more buzz about him. And then coming up for next year's draft, not this year's draft, but next year's draft. So yeah, to answer the question, there's definitely room to grow. He could take a big step. It just might not be like a huge incremental step just because he's already had such a successful first season.
And then we'll make this one the last one because I know we gotta get things moving along. As a quarterback, and this is coming from Mr. T-Dub with the $5 super chat. As a quarterback guru, if you were prepping game film, do our DBs give your game plan second thoughts? I like this. AE, are they good enough to have a scheme around them?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to be like, I won't be critical of the DBs because this guy, I don't know the level of talent. I think depending on the scheme that that they're in, they can either look a lot better than they really are, or they can look a lot worse than they really are. So I think if you're, the type of defense Arkansas plays where they drop 8 guys, 7 guys most every play off the ball, I think it might be, if there's not a lot of pressure getting there, and again, I don't know all the stats of defense. I don't know how much pressure Arkansas was getting, but if there wasn't a bunch of pressure that Arkansas got, it can make the DBs maybe not look as good as they are. And at the same hindsight 2020 or vice versa, if they're getting a ton of pressure, it can make the DB's job look it can make the DBs look a lot better than they are because they don't have to cover for that long. So I don't know if that really answers the question. I think it really depends on the scheme of the defense and them being put in the right situation to succeed based on their skill set. So hopefully that kind of answers the question. Hope it's not a cop-out answer. But would I be scared of the Arkansas defense? Well, I'm an offensive guy. I'm a quarterback guy, so hopefully I wouldn't be scared of any defense. Hopefully I'd be excited to go up against any defense.
I love that answer. I'll say this much. I know he's not asking me, but I would say 60% of the year they were pretty good. I mean, their secondary is pretty solid for like the first, I want to say 7 weeks. They were like top 8 in passing yards allowed. And then the second half of the season, they were cheeks. I mean, they were they were not very good. I mean, they had a couple just horrific games. Ole Miss, like, they just walked up and down the field. I realize they did that to a lot of teams. I get that, but good Lord, it just looked a little too easily. And then, of course, Bama. I mean, I think the guy partially, he made a huge jump in his Heisman talk after Arkansas, and of course then Georgia solidified it. I think we're talking about another Bama Heisman candidate here, but yeah, I it's kind of a mixed bag on the year, but I think overall, yeah, without Catalon, that's one thing. We knew that, but you've not had Catalon now for a while. But Mo Brown, who just recently was put on the first team All SEC, he's someone that I would imagine would at least make you second look at what you're doing, in terms of who you're targeting. All right, Stephen Hamner, man, thank you so much for making time for us, man.
Absolutely, man. That was fun. Anytime, let me know. I'm happy to jump on. That was a good time.
We're gonna have to do this again. It was too much fun, Stephen. I'll reach back out to you. I'm sure we'll be talking in Marco Polo later today. So I look forward to. We'll talk later. How about that?
All right, Ty. I'm just gonna press this end button, and I don't think it'll mess you up, right?
So, no, you're fine. Yeah. You're fine. You hit that end button with authority.
All right, dude.
All right,
yeah, that's right. All right. Yeah, let's go.
See ya. All right. Thank you to Stephen Hamner, QB Spotlight. Guy knows his stuff. There's probably no one, and I talked to him quite a bit in Marco Polo, and he is. I feel like I ought to be paying him for his content. I feel like I ought to be paying the guy, not just for his content, but also for what kind of stuff he tells us to in the Marco Polo. It's really good, insightful stuff. So again, thank you to him. That's QB Spotlight. For those of you who are unaware of the channel, all 2 of you who may not know who QB Spotlight is, that was him. That's the guy. Okay, we still got people going on about the QB slide. James Whittington says he didn't drop down and fake a slide. He drug his foot. Good Lord, this is ridiculous. James, he clearly faked a QB slide. And if you watch him, the way his motion of his body movement, he was clearly faking it. Everybody knows, and it's the right call to to make that decision. There's a difference. You could tell when a player's juking between that, and you could tell the difference between when a player's juking and when a player is faking the slide, and that's exactly what he did, and it's the right rule. In fact, I'm a little bit surprised they don't already have that rule in place, but it's a good rule. I agree with it. Ash says, such a good point by QB Spotlights. Georgia being able to cause pressure made their DBs look better, and then when they couldn't do that against Bama as much, look what happened. You got a really good point there. Let's see. Well, okay, Jane, you weren't the only one that made that comment, though. I wasn't talking about the pump fake from you. I've actually seen that on Twitter. Other people have brought that up. Kelly, I don't Pictorial, he said that QB is bad at turning the ball over. Is that fumbles, interceptions, or downs? I know he's been prone to turning it over. I think he has fumbled it a few times. And I think he's up to, 8 or 9 picks on the year. Maybe it's more. Kelly Murray also says fake slide rule is the right call. I wasn't getting into it into Discord. Oh, I'm telling you, Kelly. I saw it, but I didn't have time to comment on it. But I'm not one, I feel like when I type something out in Discord sometimes it comes off wrong. And I know sometimes people are kidding around, so it's hard. You can't read sarcasm, especially in our Discord. Sometimes it can be hard to read sarcasm. Does Calon return for next year? So Timothy's just hitting you with the one-liners here. Right now, it's starting to sound more and more promising that he could be returning. That's just what's kind of out there in the ethos. Is there a quarterback heading pro that no one is talking about that has a good chance? I'm not sure. I don't know. Tonka Todd, I don't know. Let's see. You should not be able to fake slide the defense lets up. Exactly, and that's the whole point, right? The quarterback is now he's putting himself in that vulnerable position, so defense is, I think that's been a rule, good grief, going back 25, 30 years. When a quarterback goes into a slide, you cannot touch them. That's the rule. It was one of the first QB protection rules, and I don't remember when it happened, but I do remember that it's still to this day a topic of conversation as to whether or not that should even be a rule. Why does the quarterback get extra protection? I think it's a good rule. I mean, we know how devastating of a loss a QB can be for a team, and I have no problem with that rule whatsoever. And teams I think they have, and I think that was probably coach inspired, by the way. I don't think that was just the NCAA or the NFL, whoever came up with the rule first. That was organizations, coaches, people saying we got to protect these quarterbacks because there's no other position on the field that can have as big of an impact as the quarterback does, and you lose him. I'm all for it. Now, some of these late hit calls are just bullshit. I'll just say that. We've seen guys get touched like a touch on the shoulder on a 6'5" or 6'4", 230-pound quarterback. No, that's too much. Throw the flag now. That's bullshit. That's when I'm drawing the line right there. John Haas says, I don't care if they take it as me being an ass or not. I'm an ass. It is what it is. Well, now who's saying that, John? I hope not, because you are not an ass. That's not right. Kind of a fair catch rule, just like the QB slide. It's to protect players. Yeah, and there has to be some protection in place for these players. I have no problem. It's like the targeting rule. I have no problem with the targeting rule. I have no problem with it at all. I don't like the punishment of the targeting rule. All right. Ricky freaking Stromberg has declared today on Twitter he's going to be back. You got to love it. You got to love it, man. That was huge. To me, Ricky Stromberg is a huge piece of this offense and what they do and what they do right. Was he perfect this year? Hell no, he wasn't perfect. He is considered by most draft boards out of the first round, floating around somewhere round 2, round 3. I think I've heard them say that on the radio too. He's kind of floating. He's floating around in the ethos somewhere in the second or third round. I think he thinks he's first round. I think he could be first round, and I think that's huge for the Razorbacks for 2022. Big piece of this offense coming back. You already lost Burks. We knew that was going to happen. We still got Catalon, Bumper Pool, Mo Brown. Look, that's one domino you needed back. That's one. Now I want to hear Catalon. That's going to be huge. Bumper Pool, Mo Brown. You get those 4 guys back. All of a sudden, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people absolutely scared to death of next year's schedule. For those individuals, that's got to make you feel a hell of a lot better. It does me. I'm not scared of next year's schedule. I say bring it the hell on. This is the SEC West. What are we doing? We're over here chanting the SEC. Not everyone. I get not all of you, but a lot of other people. We're over here talking about how, respect, the SEC. Here's your chance. I mean, your schedule's already brutal. It is. It's already brutal. You don't need Cincinnati to make it any harder. Or going to places you have no business going to, if you want my opinion. But, I get it. It's already a tough schedule, and I understand that argument. I completely agree. And you will hear me talk about that later on, about how difficult that schedule is. But at the same time, and on the same page, I say bring it the hell on. Let's go. And you're going to feel a hell of a lot better when you've got guys like Ricky Stromberg, Jalen Catalon, Bumper Pool, and Mo Brown back. I feel like Mo Brown probably, I don't know. I mean, this is just me talking out loud. I feel like Mo Brown wants to leave on a high note, and why not, being first team All SEC. He's going to probably get an invite to the NFL Combine. He's going to get an opportunity. Corners are difficult to draft, or they're difficult to project because, first off, it's kind of there's such high risk in the first round, especially the first round. They're kind of high risk. Don't ask me the reward. Don't ask me the trade-off there. I don't know. I'm trying to think how many first-round corners over the last decade have been up to snuff as being, that quality of a player. But teams are focused on left tackles, rush-ins, offensive line, almost any position now. We're seeing more and more guards and centers get taken higher and higher. Arkansas, of course, had Ragnow get drafted in the first round not that long ago. There's other positions that it's like, they're gaining momentum, whereas I think corner's one of those that's kind of maybe losing. I say that and watch there be like 5 corners taken in the first round. I don't know. But a running back, look how much value the running backs have just dropped over the last 8 or 10 years. They've just dropped. The value of running backs have dropped significantly. I'm just ready to smoke Missouri State. Next year is much softer than this year, says Jared Collins. What? Have you seen our schedule, Jared? Or Gerard Collins, have you seen it? James Whittington says, I agree with the rule. Maybe we are looking at it. Maybe we're looking at different plays, Ty, or different views of the same play. By the way, I'm the king of sarcasm. I personally think once they cross the line of scrimmage, they are fair game. Too many rules protecting quarterback. You need to protect quarterbacks, though, Gerard. You have to protect quarterbacks. You have to. Now, I agree some of those late hit calls are so stupid. Who was it? Like 2 or 3 years ago in the NFL, someone tapped Aaron Rodgers' foot or something, and they got a flag. It was something ridiculous like that. Like, that's stupid. Now we're just getting stupid. It is the game of football. I like that it's physical. In fact, I like the old I formation football. I do still. It has a special place in my heart because it's that line of scrimmage. I'm going to beat the hell out of you kind of football. You line up in the I. You got a fullback and a tailback. Your tight end set up. You're going to run it. Here comes either a swing or an ISO or an outside give, whatever. I love that kind of football. But I also I'm really starting to fall in love with, and not just because of Kendall, but even before Kendall, I'm starting to get the appeal of the RPO and the high-tempo offense and the high scoring. It is fun. I mean, people who complain that the RPO and this kind of football is ruining football, or this kind of offense is ruining football, yet TV ratings would disagree. High-scoring games are always going to have way more people watching. So, you say that, but it's just not entirely accurate. ESPN just said Bruce Pearl is suspended for 2 games, and the Auburn basketball team was given a 4-year probation. Everything happens when I go live. Why is this? I'm hyped. Ash says I'm hyped for that Oklahoma game tomorrow. I am too. I'm really excited. Unfortunately, I didn't put in enough time to do a thorough. We'll talk about that game here in a minute. We're not going to go too deep into it. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. I wonder what that means for them. Will players leave there now, you think? Where? Are you talking about Auburn? Are we talking about Auburn? I don't know. Yeah, I want to know what Auburn basketball did. What's going on? I mean, should we be surprised? It's Bruce Pearl. Hell no, we shouldn't be surprised. Well, while we're getting that information, let's also go ahead and get into the rest of the show. Some really big news. First off, we're going to start things off. Grant Morgan, he won the Burlsworth Trophy. That's old news. I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but he did win it. In case we didn't, we got to cover all the grounds. Cam Little and Rocket Sanders both made freshman All-SEC list. That's now up to 5 Razorbacks. 5 of those Hogs have made the All-SEC list. That's Traylon Burks, who was on the first team, Mo Brown on first team, Bumper Poole second team. Cam Little made the All-Freshman team, Rocket Sanders the All-Freshman team. Here's what's crazy. You could possibly be returning 4 of those 5, and then another guy who was an All-American coming into this year in Jalen Catalon. Think about that for a minute. That's pretty special. And you're going to get Ricky Stromberg back, who I thought Strom would make this list, at least second team, but he didn't. Probably going to be an all-conference cat somewhere, first, second, or third team from the media. So they're going to be, I think, depth chart-wise, you feel a little bit better. Or your starting group you feel a lot better about. Ty, I sent you the link on the Pearl. Okay. All right. Well, let's pop this bad boy open then, shall we? CBS Sports. Auburn basketball. This was, posted 26 minutes ago from David Cobb from CBS. From CBS Sports. Auburn basketball sanctions. Bruce Pearl suspension, probation among punishments in the NCAA infractions case. Now, is this from a previously pending? Is this from the FBI sting? Let's see. Auburn basketball coach Bruce Pearl will be suspended for 2 games. And the program will be placed on a probation for 4 years in connection with violations committed by former assistant coaches. The NCAA announced Friday Auburn self-imposed a postseason ban last season in advance of the NCAA. Okay, so this is an older, and the NCAA is honoring that penalty as part of its punishment. Let's see, the absence of additional postseason ban. Okay. The absence of an additional postseason ban and relatively short suspension for Pearl is good news for Auburn, which is maintained that Pearl was not directly involved in the scandal. Why? Bruce Pearl, everywhere this guy goes. Will Wade should be among these guys, by the way. And look, if Eric Musselman was up to no good, I'd say the same. I'd say, look, he deserves a suspension. There's no bias here when it comes to that. I would say, like, you deserve, if you're breaking rules or someone on your staff is breaking rules, then like our Discord rules says, rules is rules. That's just how it is. At the heart of the case is former Tigers assistant Chuck Person receiving bribes in exchange for his influence on players signing with certain financial advisors. I'm appreciative of Auburn University, our leadership, the AU family, and our current and former student athletes as we navigate through the challenges of the last 4 years, Pearl said in a statement. We respect the NCAA per evaluation, or NCAA peer, not Pearl, per peer. We respect the NCAA peer evaluation process and appreciate the panel recognized we took meaningful and contemporaneous penalties. Is that the word? I've never said that word aloud in my life. In fact, I don't know that I've ever read that word. Contemporaneous penalties. It's time to put this behind us as part of our penalty. I will begin my 2-game suspension tomorrow against Nebraska. Oh, you saint, you. Saint Pearl. What would we do without you? You and brother Wiretap Will Money Stacks Wade. Oh, what would we do without you guys? You're such saints. Oh, thank you for your contribution to all that is right in college basketball. put it behind you. Cheating definitely doesn't follow you everywhere you go. Person's misconduct was discovered in connection to the FBI sting on college basketball that rocked the sport in 2017. He received a 10-year show cause for his actions. Wow, 10 years. It's funny how that works. So if you screw up even just one more time in 10 years, I guess you're done. I've still never really fully understood that. There's a lot more here. I'll post this for you guys. I'll post this. There you go. There's the link if you guys want it. Plausible deniability. Bruce Pearl got that. All right. So there's that. So that was kind of unexpected. Thank you, Mike and them, for sharing that with me, man. I appreciate that. All right, let's continue on. We got more. And we've got about, I really want to keep this thing at an hour. We might go a little over. That's okay. Recruiting update. Now, this was huge. This was actually bigger news than I think we realize, and some people, LSU fans are feeling it. Arkansas fans are kind of like, oh, what does this mean? What is that really that big of a deal? LSU cornerback coach Corey Raymond has taken a job at Florida, and I think for the same position, I guess. I don't know what to what capacity he's involved on the defense there. I don't know if it's for the same job or if they're going to promote him somewhere. Probably a good money raise. I'm a little bit surprised he left, and I'll tell you why, and we're going to read about it. It was rumored that he'd be staying on staff with the new staff with the LSU Tigers. Raymond spent 10 seasons as the Tigers cornerbacks coach and developed 7 first-team All-Americans during his time with the program. This will undoubtedly have an impact for recruiting DBs and other. I think he's recruited other people just besides corners too. I've heard that he was in on some other home state cats down in Louisiana. Raymond was a particularly strong recruiter, leading the way in the Tigers' success in landing 5-star prospects Derek Stingley. We all remember Derek Stingley Jr., Eli Ricks, Keyshawn Bout, Christian Fulton, and Jamal Adams. Again, this cat has produced some talent. He has recruited some talent. And speaking of which, he was all in on LaTerrence Welch, who is the guy who a big-time 4-star corner that visited Arkansas last weekend. LaTerrence Welch, a current target and at the moment commit for LSU. It's been rumored for a little while he may have flipped to the Razorbacks. We were waiting to hear this news on Corey Raymond. Now with this decision for him to leave, this will have an impact on his decision. Now this actually came Wednesday right after I got done streaming. I think it was the second show was when this news broke. So I'd said earlier that day I didn't like Welch's odds still, even though it was rumored he was a silent commit or whatever. And I had heard that from really good sources that he's sounds like he could be a hog. Sounds very strongly he could be a hog. But then there was the hang on just a minute, take that with a grain of salt. We're waiting on what's going on with this corner coach who's been there for 10 years. He's survived multiple coaching staffs. He could stay on, but then he goes on to Florida. So that's changed a lot. Now, Welch still has an official visit with the Tigers this weekend. He's going to be announcing, and he just posted this morning, he will be announcing his decision at 4 p.m. I don't like that because I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream that because I'll be just getting home picking up the kids from school. Wait, no, it's Wednesday. No. I pick them up early on Wednesday. So, yeah, I should be able to stream that. So his decision will be made at 4 p.m. I don't know if he's streaming it, but that is, of course, as we all know, the 15th. December 15th is the first day of the ESL, the early signing period, which, by the way, is losing momentum. I don't know if you guys have picked up on this. I heard Clay Henry say this morning on the radio. It's losing momentum. More and more coaches are actually complaining. Thank God they're getting. It sounds like we may see a vote on early signing period, getting a change, getting moved back to January. I'm okay with January. That makes sense. It's the first of the new year, but I still think it ought to be like middle of January, like January 15th. Let these kids come back from Christmas break. Let them have a couple of weeks and then have early signing period or your first initial signing period. And Clay Henry was not the first that I've heard say that. I've actually heard that in other places. So it sounds like there is some truth to it. If I hear Clay Henry talk about it, then there's definitely some smoke around it at the very least. So it's possible we could hear a vote on whether or not they're going to continue this early signing period stuff. So that's good. All right. We also have a correction to make on Miles Rouser. Miles Rouser, there was smoke everywhere that he was supposed to visit this weekend. And someone who I don't know, they're not someone who I text, they're not someone whose DMs I'm in, but I did see some individual say this somewhere, I don't remember where, on social media, but he had also heard that Rouser had a visit this weekend and had canceled it. He never had a visit this weekend. That's, like I said, guys, this is why you take everything with a grain of salt. I had said in Discord I thought that he had a visit this weekend, and that was incorrect. He does not have a visit this weekend for the Hogs, so he did not cancel any visitation with any school. Now, has he been in contact with members of media? From what I understand, people that I have been able to talk to, he has not been in contact with several members of Arkansas media. That's where the decommit noise, really where I was getting that from, was that it sounds like he's not – there's something – I don't know. All I would say is don't believe anything until it's official. I think that story or someone had shared that on Otis's YouTube or Otis's his website on that message board over there. I don't go to Hogville. Is it Hogville? I don't ever go to Hogville. And that's not a sly on Otis. I don't ever make a habit of making it over there. I'll just say it's been a while since I've been over there. There are some good posters over there. But my show got posted there, and someone had said, Ty said there's a decommitment. Just to be clear, like I said all the time, take all that with a grain of salt. I don't know that he decommits from the Hogs. I would lean on – I would put it up in the air as I don't know. I don't really know where Miles Rouser ends up. Someone had speculated, well, maybe he's going to go to one of the Michigan schools. He's from Michigan. He plays high school football in Michigan. Maybe that's where he ends up. It could be. I don't know. I would just say keep your ear to the ground. It just, I don't know. Is he on Twitter? Is Miles Rouser on Twitter? Follow him on Twitter and click the bell. Click the notification bell. And if he makes an announcement, you'll be the first to know, right? I don't even follow him on Twitter, and that I probably should, but I don't. Or maybe if he's on Instagram, and then you'll know for sure. You'll hear it straight from the horse's mouth. That's all I'll say. Plenty of hype around a pretty strong possibility the Hogs will land another LSU Tiger, only this time it's going to be via the transfer portal, the Bobby Hopper transfer portal. Landon Jackson, former highly rated 4-star defensive end on 247, has been crystal balled to Arkansas. That's not just by Danny West or Trey Biddy, although anytime those guys crystal ball somebody, I feel like they're always right. But this also comes from 247's very own transfer portal expert, Clint Brewster. So this isn't just like home cooking or whatever people have claimed that to be when those two guys crystal ball, which, by the way, is ridiculous. Those guys only crystal ball something when they feel pretty strongly about it. And I think they've been, for the most part, pretty accurate. But, Clint Brewster also, and I think that had to be yesterday, I think, when Clint Brewster put in his crystal ball for the Hogs to get Landon Jackson to get him through the portal. Absolutely huge if they do that. Now, when you see stuff like that, that does make you feel a little bit better about what the defensive staff does. Someone had asked too, Ty, if we see any coaching changes, when are we most likely to see it? I'm going to tell you it's going to happen after next week. You're going to probably see a lot of changes around the country. I'm not saying there's any smoke to anyone at Arkansas leaving. I'm just saying nothing would surprise me. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from anybody. There's nothing out there. We got to remember too, these guys understand that social media and message boards get wind of this stuff pretty quick, so they're probably going to be a lot more quieter about it, so we may not know until it happens, if anything happens. But yes, if I had to guess, if you start seeing any changes, it would be later in the month of December or possibly probably after the bowl game or maybe before it. Look, that's obviously that happens. It's happening right now. So just, again, like with all things, keep your ears to the ground. All right. I'm excited about Jackson transfer, but that video of his doing the slap drill in practice is pretty cringy. Yeah, I don't know who put that out. I saw that. Congrats to Frederick Clemens. What happened to Clemens? What's going on? Let me scroll up. What up, Ty? Man, I'm at hospital. Oh no. Just had my son. Oh, I didn't miss your live chat while I'm holding my newborn. Oh my gosh, Frederick, you are the man. Frederick Clemens, everybody. Congrats. Let's get congrats up in the chat here. That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. There's nothing like being a dad, man. There's nothing like it. That's cool. Congratulations, Frederick Clemens. I look, man, if it comes between your son and dropping the phone because you're trying to watch my show, drop the phone, okay? I'm sure he would. Frederick Clemens, longtime PTN viewer. That is awesome, man. Congratulations. That's cool. Raising them right already, says Anthony White. Jerron Williams from Ole Miss. What about Jerron Williams? What happened to Jerron Williams? What's going on? This stuff happens when we live stream. Trying to scroll up here, see if we missed anything. Pearl failed to adequately monitor former assistant coach Chuck Person and did not promote an atmosphere of compliance, basically bribes from 2017, says Jacob Brothers. Yeah, that's a problem. Not surprising. Not at all. Thank you for sharing that, Jacob Brothers. Money Mars says they said it was the investigation they started in 2017 on Parsons about accepting bribes. Yeah. Seen where Moses Moody is balling out in the G League. Yeah, he had like 33 points last night. Did you guys see that? All right, OU primer really quick. I swear I was going to do a lot more on Oklahoma, but there was so much more news out there. This is a big game, and I'm going to finish it on this. Oklahoma, good grief, ESPN. I hate how the page is constantly loading, and you're always clicking on the wrong thing. The basketball power index has changed a lot. It actually, at one point in time this season, it had Oklahoma favored at like 65% or something. Now it's dropped down to 58.5. Do we have a spread on this game yet? We don't. What's the deal with these basketball spreads? Do they wait on the day of? Someone help me out. Some of you guys that gamble. I know you're listening. Tell me why I'm not seeing the line yet or the spread. But this will be at seeing ESPN once again. They're lost. They're saying this game's in Norman. It's not. It's at the BOK Center in Tulsa. But we know they've got Groves, who's a pretty solid playmaker for them. This is a cat that's averaging like 6 or 7 rebounds a game, 15 points, shooting 59% from the floor. He's 63% at the free throw line. That's not exactly great, but the Sooners are going to be a little bit problematic here, and I know they just lost to Butler. Who was their other loss to? Utah State. They lost to Utah State and Butler. Butler's not a great program, okay? They've got, 3-4 losses on the year? I think it's 3. They're 6-3, and then their other loss, by the way, at home to Utah State. Now, Utah State's not – I don't know. I mean, they're not bad. They're 6-3. They've got they have wins over Penn, Richmond, New Mexico State. I guess Carolina. They went on the road and they lost to BYU 82-71. But yeah, this is a game you should win. You should win. And it troubles me that they're seeing Oklahoma as favored at 58.5. I don't know if that's because I'm wondering, and this is something worth talking about. This is something worth mentioning. Their BPI is incorrect if they're basing it off the fact they're playing this game in Norman, Oklahoma, which has a capacity of almost 12,000 people. OU, we're playing this at a neutral site, and so that place can be 50% Hog fans. And I'm sure Hog fans are going to show up. I mean, the Razorbacks are ranked in the top 15. So I don't know that BPI. I wonder how they would figure that if they had. I think that plays an impact on their BPI. So I wouldn't take their BPI. I would say it's probably 50-50. It ought to be like 52% in favor of Oklahoma, or maybe 52% in favor of Arkansas, and 48% to the opponent. But I'm going to say they play salty defense. OU is, I mean, they've been pretty good on the defensive side of things, right? We know they've got like I said, Tanner Groves has been kind of their do-it-all guy. Tanner Groves also gets about 26 minutes. He's, again, 15 points. They've got Emoja Gibson, who's averaging 11 points, 2 rebounds. And who's their – I guess Jordan Goldwire. Maybe he's their one. It's either a one because he's averaging like 4 assists. But they have some pieces here. They're kind of – I don't know. They look deep to me. But as far as guys getting quality minutes, it's really down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They might have about a 7-man rotation because there's only their starting 5, the guys with the most minutes. Again, you're talking about Gibson, Goldwire, Hill, and then Tanner Groves at 26. All those other guys are at 28, 29 minutes. The only game I've watched from Oklahoma this year is Butler, and I watched most of that second half. I watched the overtime, crazy last-second shot made by OU, and then Butler. Clearly I thought Butler was the better team, and I don't think Butler's – I don't know. I mean, they are – don't get me wrong. Butler's a good basketball program, but it's not like they're lighting the world on fire right now, and they beat them at OU. OU's claim to fame so far this year is a victory over Florida, and Florida's not exactly lighting the world on fire either. So when you look at their quality minutes, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys at the 26-minute or more mark, and then just 2 other players at double digits. C.J. Noland at 13, Jacob Groves at 13. I guess he must be related to Tanner Groves. Is that how that works? Are those 2 related? Maybe there's some guys coming back. Again, I've been so sidelined with all this other, with the Treylon Burks stuff. Now we had Ricky Stromberg. The news broke this morning. Hazelwood. This has been a crazy-ass week. I have not had time to really prep as much for OU as I would like to have. But this is such a key game, and it's going to be imperative that Arkansas gets this win. I mean, there's no doubt. You may need to live stream more. Stuff happens. Yeah, well, my life can't revolve around every single event. I mean, that's just impossible. Jerron Williams decommitted from Georgia Tech, teammate of Rashad Dubian. Ooh, worth keeping an eye on, right? I got to play football highlights for my newborn to quit crying. Lee Donovan says. Yeah, I mean, again, that's really cool. Frederick, that's really cool, man. Glad you're here, and thanks for being here, man. Now go spend some time with that newborn and your wife or girlfriend. Go spend some time with her and get ready for tomorrow. Big day. Wednesday is going to be huge. I'm not really sure how we're going to handle Wednesday. Isaiah Centenia, hang on. Isaiah Centenia is going to commit or sign. We know he's committed. He's going to sign at 1:30. I don't know if I stream that one because we already know he's going to be a hog. I think my schedule for that day, it's starting to look like I'm just going to stream the 11 o'clock, and then we're going to stream Welch at 4 p.m. I don't know. We might try to stick it out and do Centenia's. Just, we'll talk about it on Monday, the Monday and Wednesday show. But again, tons of good news out there for Arkansas. Yeah, you lost Burks. Not going to get him in the bowl game. Whatever. Okay, that sucks. We wish them the best. But now you've got all this positivity just flowing in. I would say when you guys ask me about coaching changes, if anything happens, it'll be after early signing period. If anything happens. So, all right. Great show. Again, shout out to Mr. Hamner, QB Spotlight, for being here earlier. Shout out to you guys. Patreon supporters, my gosh, we added more Patreon folks. Now, if you guys, I know someone had asked, why don't you add the names as they come along? Shout out to Brady Lavoie and John Sims. The reason why I don't do that is I wait till Patreon then publishes the people that actually sign up, and that happens usually at the end of the first week of the next month. That's when I make the changes. So, again, thank you guys to Patreon supporters, sponsors, you guys here in live chat, those of you watching after the fact. I also had a question of the day, and it's probably a little late to ask, but I'll ask it anyways. These next games, and we're going to end it on this, these next games coming up, including OU, again, it's Saturday. how many of these non-conference games, how am I going to phrase this? How many of these next, let's see, Oklahoma, Hofstra, and Elon, these next 3 games, what do you think they finish? Do they go 2-1? Maybe they go 1-2. Maybe they get upset. Maybe someone knows something about Elon and Hofstra that we're not aware of. Or do they go 3-0? These last 3 games, Oklahoma, Hofstra, and Elon, do they go into SEC play? What's their conference record going to look like? Obviously, if you beat OU, you feel pretty confident then you're going to go undefeated in non-con. So let me know. And will Linux is 3-0, just like that. All right. Woo Pig. I'll see you guys tomorrow after the Oklahoma game. And, yeah, go Hogs.